Have you ever felt a pang of anxiety right when you receive a loving text? Not joy, but a quiet dread, as if the words on the screen were a weight instead of a gift. Or perhaps you've been on the other side, left utterly bewildered by someone who drew you in with profound depth, only to vanish behind a wall of calm indifference when you reached for them. This isn't a story about casual non-commitment. This is about the sensitive soul, the poet, the deep thinker, the one who gazes at the stars and yearns for a connection that feels like home. Yet, for this soul, the very moment that connection becomes tangible, something primal awakens. The heart doesn't sing, it seizes. The ghosted plan, the cancelled date, the perfected narrative of I'm better off alone. These are not the maneuvers of a cold heart. They are the distress signals of a heart that learned, somewhere deep in its history, that love and danger share the same address. Today, we are not here to label a behavior. We are here to undertake a compassionate excavation of the lonely longing, that excruciating paradox of craving. The very thing your entire being is wired to flee. If you have ever felt this push-pull war within your own chest, or have loved someone who lives within its grip, know this. Understanding this paradox is not an academic exercise. It is the first crucial step toward a profound kind of freedom. We are moving past the simplistic labels like commitment phobia and journeying into the nervous system, the hidden memories, and the silent, self-protective logic that makes this pattern so powerful. To miss this understanding is to remain trapped in a story of rejection, when a truer, more compassionate story of protection awaits. And so, we reach for the nearest, easiest explanation. The story the world tells us is simple. It paints in broad, unforgiving strokes. The person who pulls away is labeled emotionally unavailable, cold, a player, an ice queen. Afraid of settling down, pop psychology slaps on a sticker: avoidant, narcissist, commitment phobia. The message is clear. This is a character flaw, a deficit of heart. The chorus of advice to the one left in the wake is a relentless, painful mantra. They're just not that into you. You deserve better. Move on. It creates a clean, cruel binary: the healthy, loving pursuer and the broken, heartless runner. It frames distance as a lack of interest, a lack of capacity, a fundamental lack of love. This surface story inflicts a double wound. It tells the one who fears intimacy, you are fundamentally flawed in your ability to connect. And it tells the one who loves them, your love was an inconvenience. You were never truly seen. It breeds shame on one side and corrosive self-doubt on the other. But what if this story, for all its loud certainty, is not just painful, but profoundly incomplete? What if the aloofness isn't an absence of feeling, but the presence of a feeling so overwhelming it demands retreat? Let's gently put this surface story aside and listen to the quieter, truer one beneath. If we have the courage to look past the label, to step beyond the simplistic story, we discover a different reality. One not of coldness, but of silent, seismic storms beneath the calm exterior. The sudden withdrawal or the self-sabotaging criticism. There is no emptiness. There is a state of high alert. The nervous system isn't relaxed. It's humming with a primal fight-flight signal that screams danger. In a moment that society calls closeness, intimacy, in this heightened state, doesn't register as warmth. It can feel like a threat of annihilation, a risk to the very core of the self. Too deep, often unconscious, fears rise like twin tides. First, the fear of engulfment. Love doesn't feel like being held. It feels like being swallowed. A simple request for time together echoes like a cage door closing. The internal narrative is, if I let you in, I will disappear. My needs, my thoughts, my identity will be consumed by yours. Here, autonomy feels like the only source of oxygen, and intimacy feels like it will steal the very last breath. Its haunting counterpart, the fear of abandonment. An older, more wounded voice whispers, "This is temporary." The moment you are truly seen the real, flawed, messy youth, they will leave. It is inevitable. So, a tragic, self-preserving logic takes over. I will leave first. It will hurt, but I will be the one holding the knife, not receiving the wound. This is the hidden reality. The object of affection becomes, paradoxically, the source of threat. The longing is achingly present, but it is instantly chased by a survival instinct that shouts, "Retreat. Seal the hatch." It is not a game. It is a torturous, internal civil war between a deep human longing to belong and a desperate biological need to be safe. And safety, for this nervous system, has always been defined by a single, heartbreaking equation. Safety equals distance. To navigate this internal war, we need to understand its origins. This isn't a choice made in the present. It's the echo of a survival blueprint written in the past. We look to three key psychological frameworks. First, our foundational blueprint, attachment theory. Imagine a child whose emotional needs were a problem. Perhaps caregivers were inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes absent, or intrusive love felt smothering, demanding the child's silence. Or neglectful, the child learned that to need is to be a burden. The brilliant adaptive strategy that emerges is hyper-independence. The child's mind reasons, if I cannot rely on you, I will rely only on myself. My needs are a weakness. My emotions are a liability. This is the genesis of the avoidant dismissive, or fearful, avoidant attachment style. It's not a personality flaw. It's a brilliantly crafted suit of armor for a world that felt emotionally unsafe. Second, the neurology of alarm. It's not in your head, it's in your body. When a moment of vulnerability arises, a shared secret, a sustained gaze, a loving touch, it can trigger the amygdala, our brain's ancient fear center, as if we've encountered a physical threat. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for reason, trust, and connection, goes offline. The body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart might race, your vision tunnel, your muscles tense. Kindness to this system registers as a crisis. This is why someone can logically want a partner, but physically recoil from a hug that lasts a second too long. The body is obeying an older, louder command: escape. Third, the architecture of belief, core wounds, and the fantasy defense from those early experiences. Core beliefs solidify into what feel like unshakable truths. I am unlovable. I am too much. Love is controlling. To need is to be weak. These aren't just thoughts. They are the bedrock of a worldview. This leads to a critical split, the fantasy of intimacy versus its reality. The idea of perfect, symbiotic love is safe, it's controlled by the mind. A beautiful story where no one is ever inconvenient. but the messy, real-time reality of a relationship with its necessary negotiations, its misunderstandings, its demands on your time and energy feels terrifyingly porous. It threatens the fortress of self-sufficiency. The fantasy partner never asks for anything. A real human person does. Contrast framing. So, it's not that they choose to be distant in the moment. It's that a subconscious, self-protective algorithm is running constantly. It scans for threat, and intimacy-serial, embodied, mutual intimacy lights up the dashboard like a 5-alarm fire. The brain isn't saying, "Don't love." It's screaming, "Danger." Your survival strategy is being compromised. Let's step out of theory and into life. Let's meet 3 souls, not as case studies, but as mirrors. Perhaps you'll see a reflection here. First, there's Alex. Alex ends every relationship like clockwork, right around the 3-month mark. The trigger is never a fight. It's the moment their partner leans in and whispers, "I love you." For Alex, those words don't feel like a gift. They feel like a binding contract they never signed. A wave of panic rises, a feeling of being trapped, of future expectations piling up like. Within days, Alex will find a rational reason, a mismatched life goal, a difference in humor. They will end it with calm, logical clarity. And then, in the hollow silence that follows, they will feel a crushing loneliness, swearing off dating, until the cycle of longing begins again. For Alex, "I love you" is not heard with the heart, but with the amygdala. It's heard as "I now have a claim on you," and every cell in their body must rebel. Then there's Sam. Sam is magic on a first date. Charming, present, deeply attentive. They make you feel like the only person in the world. But as the connection deepens, a subtle shift occurs. Sam begins to notice flaws. Your laugh is a bit too loud for them. Your political opinion is a little naive. You chewed your pasta just slightly wrong. This criticism isn't cruelty. It's a distancing tool. By focusing on your minor imperfections, Sam creates a justified reason to pull back. It protects them from the terrifying vulnerability of simply loving someone, flaws and all. It keeps the connection in a state of manageable appraisal, never allowing it to become an unconditional acceptance that might feel engulfing. And finally, Casey. Casey craves deep partnership more than anything. They believe in soulmates. But after a beautiful, connecting weekend with their partner, Casey feels physically drained, hollowed out, as if their emotional reserves have been completely spent. They need days, sometimes weeks, of absolute, silent solitude to feel like themselves again. This isn't a lack of love. It's a psyche with shallow reserves for the intense, constant energy exchange of togetherness. For Casey, intimacy is metabolically expensive. Their need for space is as urgent as a need for water, not a rejection of the other, but a non-negotiable requirement for their own emotional survival. This internal war, this brilliant, tragic strategy of self-protection comes at a steep and quiet tax. The cost of misunderstanding it, of accepting the surface story, is a life lived in the periphery of connection. It is the chronic loneliness that exists within a social life, within a relationship. It's the haunting feeling of being a ghost at the feast of your own life, watching warmth and closeness from behind a pane of glass. You installed yourself. It is the exhaustion of the cycle, the spark of hope, the cautious opening, the wave of fear, the self-sabotage, the retreat, the shame, and repeat, a wearying loop that feels like fate. For those who love them, the cost is a specific, corrosive heartbreak. The pain of being shown a glimpse of a beautiful, authentic soul, only to have the door gently but firmly shut in your face. It breeds a debilitating self-doubt. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? When we misunderstand this as indifference, we double the pain. We blame instead of seeking to understand. In doing so, we inadvertently reinforce the very core wound that caused the fear in the first place, whispering to that protective part, "See, you were right. You are unlovable. Your needs are a burden." The ultimate cost is a sentence, life on the outside looking in. But this sentence is not life, and it is not final. So, where does change begin? Not with a grand romantic gesture toward another person, but with a quiet, seismic turning inward. It begins not in the heat of a new connection, but in the weary silence after the old pattern has repeated itself once again. The familiar story, "they weren't the right person," suddenly sounds hollow, thin, and in that hollow space, a new, fragile thought whispers, "This pattern is mine. I am doing this, and it is hurting me." This is the turning point. It's the moment the self-protective part, the fortress guard that has worked so tirelessly for so long, just for a second, it lowers its weapon. It turns its gaze away from the perceived threat outside and looks inside the walls it built. For the first time, it hears the faint, lonely song of the exiled part, the child self, the true self that still hopes, still feels, still longs to belong. It is not a flash of lightning. It is the first faint crack of dawn after a very long night. It is the decision to stop blaming the world for being threatening and to begin a journey of compassionate curiosity about why your system learned to perceive it that way. The question at the heart of everything shifts from "why can't I find safe love?" to "what happens inside me when love gets close?" This question is the first and bravest step home. This journey isn't about breaking down your fortress with a battering ram. It's about learning to be its gentle keeper, to open the gate when you choose, not when fear commands. It's a practice of nervous system repair, built on tiny, courageous repetitions. Here are some pathways. 1. The sensory pause. When you feel the familiar ping of panic, the tight chest, the urge to criticize, the numbing fog pause. Don't act, just notice. Place a hand on your heart. Feel your feet on the floor. Take one slow, deliberate breath. This creates a sacred space between the trigger and your reaction. In that space, you whisper to the protective part, "I see you. You are trying to keep me safe. Thank you. I have this now." You are not dismissing the fear. You are acknowledging its intent while asserting your adult presence. 2. Graded vulnerability. We don't start by sharing our deepest shame. We start with a pebble, not a boulder. In a low-stakes relationship, practice a tiny disclosure. "That movie actually made me feel sad. I'm a bit nervous about this work thing." The goal isn't the content. It's to build new evidence in your body and brain. I shared a small, true thing. The world did not end. I am still safe. I am still me. This is how you rewire the association. Vulnerability gives catastrophe. 3. Reparenting the wound. This is an inner dialogue. Write a letter to that younger part of you that learned this fear. Speak to them with the kindness they deserved. Your feelings were valid. You were not too much. It makes sense that you learned to hide. You are safe with me now. This isn't just poetry, it's neuroplasticity. You are providing the secure, loving base that might have been missing, building it from within. 4. The relationship laboratory. When you feel ready with someone trustworthy, you can name the pattern. This is perhaps the most powerful tool of all. You might say, I care about you. Sometimes, when I feel close, my old fears get triggered, and I might need a little space or seem distant. It's not about you. I'll do my best to communicate that. This breaks the cycle of mystery and hurt. It transforms your pattern from a ghost in the machine into a known, manageable part of the relationship's landscape. The goal is not to never feel the fear. The goal is to feel the fear, honor its protective intent, and still choose, in a small and then a larger way, to turn toward connection. You are building a muscle of trust, one micro moment of courage at a time. Each small choice is a brick in a new, more flexible structure, not a fortress, but a home with a welcome mat. So let us reframe this completely. Let us look at the story, not of what was lost, but of what was forged in that fire. This capacity for such profound fear of intimacy did not arise from a shallow pool. It was born from a profound capacity to feel deeply, intensely. That sensitivity is not a flaw. It is the raw material of true empathy, of artistic vision, of a rich inner world. Your fierce protection of your autonomy means you possess a strong, defined sense of self, a rare gift that, when integrated, becomes the very bedrock of healthy relationship, not its enemy. Your journey requires a courage that those with easier paths may never comprehend, the courage to face your own primal blueprints, to sit in the terrifying quiet of your own fear, and to choose to rewrite them. This is not a story of being broken. It is the story of a deeply feeling architect who learned to build a formidable fortress, and who now possesses the unique, quiet strength to design a welcoming home in its place. Emotional impact. This is direct validation, a permission slip to stop pathologizing your experience and start respecting the profound strength it took to survive. And so, we return to where we began. Not with a person who is afraid of love, but with a person whose love is so vast and so potent, their entire being once organized itself to protect it. The lonely longing, that ache for a connection that feels simultaneously like a lifeline and a threat, is not a curse. It is a compass. It points with unerring accuracy to the exact location of your deepest wound, and therefore to the source of your most profound healing. The path forward is not about demolition. It is not about shattering your fortress in a burst of doomed courage. It is about becoming the gentle, conscious keeper of your own gates. It is learning to open them slowly when you discern true safety, not because it's easy, but because you've learned you can withstand the temporary storm of fear. It is choosing to let someone see the vulnerable, authentic you, not from a place of lack, but from a place of profound and growing self-possession. A life of authentic intimacy is not a prize reserved for the fearless. It is built patiently and bravely by those who know the intricate geography of fear because they have chosen to map it with compassion. Your history does not disqualify you from love. It prepares you for a love that is conscious, chosen, and resiliently deep. You are not a locked door. You are a careful guardian. And the first, most important soul you must learn to grant full, fearless admission to is your own. From that secure home within, all other real connection becomes not just possible, but inevitable.